So now let's go try and read this paper. This is Does Moral Ignorance Excuse by Neil Levy in Think Magazine. Did I read something else by Neil Levy? I feel like I just read something by this person. Like literally not that long ago. And I didn't do this, did I? Did Moral Ignorance Excuse? No, this came out. When did this come out? This came out spring 2024. Yeah, so this is out in the current edition and in Think Magazine, which is a more of a popular philosophy journal. Yeah, EBM. Yeah, so Ivan Neal got the full. Let's see. Do I still have this emote? No, I lost my emotes. I had a good dancing person emote. Dag nabbit. That's too bad. Lumpy says, I'm telling me if I swing by in New York, we should go out and seek some yummy Asian food and riff about the state of the world. Oh, absolutely. I do that all the time. I like going and getting Asian food. I do that a bit. But anyway. Yes, anyone's always willing to go buy me a beer or some food in New York. Food and beer is expensive. Hey, thank you. And Ivan's got all the cool dancers. Oh, there we go. Brilliant. All right, so here we go. Everyone agrees that ignorance of fact can excuse. Yeah. If I take your suitcase thinking it was mine and my belief that it was mine was faultless, perhaps the coach driver handed it to me saying this is yours and it looked exactly like mine, I seem excused of blame. But philosophers and ordinary people alike have been reluctant to think that moral ignorance can excuse. My ignorance that there was poison in the sugar bowl excuses me from blame, but few people are inclined to excuse on the basis of the claim that the person didn't know it was wrong to cause harms. Yeah, like if you don't think it's you're like, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to hurt people. It's like, no, you probably shouldn't. You did know that. Obviously, it wouldn't be plausible for me to claim I didn't know it was wrong to poison you, but there are cases in which claims of moral ignorance seem more plausible. Debates about the morality of statues portraying people who made money in the slave trade often make these issues central. Those who want them torn down typically blame the people memorialized for their wrongdoing. Conversely, those who defend the statues often think it's sufficient to deflect blame on the grounds that the person was a man of his time to make their case for the preservation of the memorials. It's pretty hard. Most of these people, like, what really good stuff did they do besides donate a lot of money? Like, is that great? In this brief article, the author wants to draw attention to some undiscussed problems that arise when we blame those who acted horrendously at a time when acting in that way was widely accepted. If moral ignorance doesn't excuse, it must be different from factual ignorance in some important way. The common view is that it's different because it's much harder to maintain. It takes work to be morally ignorant if it's possible to achieve it at all. The morally ignorant person must willfully ignore the equal humanity of the members of other races or of women, say, to maintain their ignorance. Is that really that hard? We've done this for a very long time. I don't know if this is actually that hard at all. We seem to do this all the fucking time. Let me just repeat this. The morally ignorant person must willfully ignore the equal humanity of members of other races or of women, say, to maintain their ignorance. We've done this a lot. I don't know if it's that hard to willfully ignore it. It seems like it's very easy to do it. Unreal Brian says, quote, "You work pretty hard at staying stupid." Yeah, but we've had like misogyny and like those stupid heathens. We don't care what the heathens think. We've been doing this for a long time. I don't know if it's actually that, like, if you don't talk to people from, like, other places, it's easy to think they're stupid. Like, and if you don't talk to them because you're busy, which most of us are, it's like, that doesn't seem so crazy. Ivan says, it was a case of factual ignorance about equal humanity, right? Yeah, so for most of our history, I think that was maybe part of it. Maybe that's a really good point, Ivan. We did not know that people from other places were very similar to us. Maybe that could be considered a factual ignorance problem, and they should have been excused from it. Now we know better, but again, do we know better now? I don't know if we do, and it's very easy to, like, people still have these very old ideas. So I'm a little concerned that this claim right here is just maybe, I think Ivan's got it right. Maybe it's misguided, because a lot of the things in the past may have been factual ignorance, but nowadays it's like, it still might be factual. They don't even wear top hats. I know. All right. Moral ignorance is different from factual ignorance because no one is innocently morally ignorant. Yeah, see, and this is the other thing. Are you sure about that? Like, are we sure that people aren't morally ignorant? Like, people can be taught poorly. Like, not everyone is born a moral saint. Like, this is one of these things that annoy me. I feel like it's in the Christian West, or maybe just the Judeo-Christian West, we have some sort of sense that, like, kids are pure. I don't have the sense that kids are pure and that, like, somehow they're morally good as kids. Kids are little monsters. And so the idea that, like, they're morally ignorant, like because no one is innocently morally ignorant. It's like, yeah, kids are terrible. It's like, why would we think they're good just because they're young? Like, weird. Lumpy yearns to wear a top hat. Yeah, well, that could be, that can be achieved. Okay, suppose it's true. The problems I want to focus on arise when we ask of the willfully ignorant. How could they act like that? How could they engage in such terrible actions? There are three possibilities. Your sister's a big Jane Austen fan. I wonder if it would be a good idea to throw a themed party for her birthday. We don't know. I mean, do you get to wear a top hat? Then it might be a great idea. All right. They acted so badly because they were worse people than us, or because they could get away with it, or due to factors outside their control. On each option, it's hard to see how they deserve blame, or at least deserve our blame. Suppose the explanation for how they could act so awfully is that they were simply bad people. Worse people than we are. Perhaps we've seen widespread moral improvement between their time and ours. Yeah, child soldiers, yeah. That's still going on. Of course, there are plenty of terrible people around now, people we think would engage in awful conduct given the opportunity. But we can't explain slavery and genocide colonization by reference to a small subset. A small subset of awful people in the past. Valpo comments, part of the tradition says that, on the other hand, if Augustine of Hippo is like babies are evil on page 3 of his autobiography. Okay, good. Yeah, but that's not what this person said. Like, this person here is like, people aren't ignorant of it. Yeah. He was from a place called Hippo. Like, he was Augustine of Hippo. Like, he was a Hippo. The town was called Hippo. So, it was just a funny name of a town. But, like, yeah, that's right, Lumpy. And best at conversation? Yeah. So I guess, like, yeah, maybe that, but, like, I've never heard that from the Christian perspective that somehow kids were evil. I've always heard, like, sort of, oh, the child, like the child is pure, like going back to Jesus. Again, I'm not a Christian theologian. It was a one Hippo town, yeah. Okay, so were people actually worse in the past? I mean, I find this ridiculous. I'm sure the author knows this, of course. The idea that people were any different just like a few hundred or a few thousand years ago. No, people are people. The worst offenders in the past might have been especially bad people. Christopher Columbus appears to have been seen by his contemporaries as barbarous. Yeah, okay, and we need Shane here, of course, is barbarous just meant not Roman, I think, and they were making fun of them because their language sounded like bar. So that's why they were called barbarians, because they sounded like bar. They were making fun of the way they spoke. Yeah. Baby Frank says, "Baby, hey, what's up, Frank? Babies are evil, just very, very slightly. Yeah, chaotic neutral. Yeah. If you can't tell, I'm definitely on the chaotic side. I'm not, and I'm very ambiguous on good or bad. My brain upgraded Ivan's comments into a good pun just by sheer reflex. Lumpy, the reason I do what I do is because I think faster than I can read, and so I'm changing, like, that's why I'm analyzing the paper as I'm going. So yes, I am upgrading things as I'm going. I'm trying to make them make sense as I go. Like, yes. I'm reading in some sense on autopilot and thinking about it as I go over it. But yes, okay, so seen by his contemporaries as barbarous, but most of those who engage in the slave trade were not seen as especially bad. Yeah, they just had jobs, that was just their job, man. Just doing my job. Their behavior was normal and tolerated by almost everyone. The very existence of statues commemorating slave traders indicates how widely accepted their behavior was. This is a little bit unfair, and our buddy Aris makes this point. People have for hundreds, if not thousands of years been against slavery, and the fact that you can afford a statue doesn't mean shit. Like, you can afford statues, and people build statues to their own monuments, to their own selves, monuments to themselves. Just the fact that you can afford a statue just means you are wealthy, not that people actually liked you. And people smashed a lot of statues in the past too, because they didn't like you, and that happened after you were dead and no one was like protecting the statue anymore. So I'm not sure the existence of statues actually means anything more than you could afford to make a statue. So this seems a little bit it's always been accepted for being rich. You aim for chaotic good. I'm not always sure what good is, but I try to fall on the good side. Try. Okay, if we're to suppose that being worse people explains the slave trade, for example, we must suppose that typical people in the past were worse than most of us today. Yeah, which I find ridiculous. Yeah, so this looks like a African American sort of person with a chain around their neck, and that's creepy. Chaotically good, you mean inefficiently good? No, Frank, because I don't know what the good is, and so that would assume more knowledge than I think I have, or maybe it even exists. So basically, you're thrashing around, and otherwise, I'd be putting myself in an untenable epistemic position. Hippo is ancient Greek for horse. Really? I did not know that, Ivan. That's cool. Well, yeah. Unreal's with Frank on this one. Alright. The common view is moral ignorance is different from factual ignorance because no one is innocently morally ignorant. Yeah, I mean, maybe on some very basic facts that pain doesn't count, but if you look at the history, people were like, black people don't feel pain in the same way as white people, and that was like their excuse why it was like okay to like hit black people. Like, it was insane. But like they were more than happy to like just make up bullshit to justify their actions. Lumpy says, I too have come to terms with my slightly chaotic side, but I'm deeply good aligned. I do aim for the greater good. Yeah, I'd like to be, but I just don't. I live in a very gray world, so I just don't know. Adam says, also, I mean what a slave trader is doing to another human. A person would fight ferociously if they were to be taken, so it's not like slave traders did not confront their acts on a daily basis. Yeah, I think they were just very good at, not thinking the people that were slaves were actually human, and so, once you make that, separation in your mind, it didn't really matter what you're doing because you were, trading, ants. Who cares about moving ants around? All right. Oh, hippodrome means horse race in French, and hippopotamus means water horse, if I recall. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Ivan's just a few steps ahead of us, as he often is. Yeah, right. If you mistakenly think of a person as less than fully human, you will infer that you can treat them like non-humans. Yep. And I think that's what is going on a lot. All right. Author says, the problem with this explanation is that it seems either to be mysterious or excusing. The obvious explanations of moral improvement between then and now all look pretty exculpating. If we've become better people because our relative affluence allows us the luxury of treating others as persons and not merely as threats, or because improvements in communication allow us to understand one another better, or due to an institutional environment in which trust is warranted, we've become better people due to the facts for which we're not responsible. Yeah, so this is the thing where it's like, now we actually do realize that they are human, but that wasn't up to us, that was up to a better education and communication. This looks exculpatory because we've explained the badness of past people by reference to facts that neither they nor we are responsible for, facts the significance of which they might not even have been able to see. On the other hand, if there's simply no explanation of why we're better people than they are, if it's just a brute fact, that's very mysterious, and our theories shouldn't appeal to the existence of mysteries. Yeah, I mean, it would just be like, oh, they're dumb people, or they were bad people in the past, which is kind of ridiculous. It's just making ad hoc stuff up. Alright, author continues. Suppose we're not morally better than them. Why did they act worse than we do? If we're no better than they are, then it seems to follow that we would have acted just as badly as they did in their circumstances. The only difference between them and us is that they had the opportunity to act like that. If that's right, though, then our standing to condemn them is considerably weakened. In general, one agent can't justifiably blame another for acting badly if the first agent would have acted just as badly had they had the chance to do so. So even if they're blameworthy, we're in no position to blame them, and we should not do so. Of course, slave owners were engaged in morally horrendous activities. Of course, we should condemn what they did. That seems adequate grounds to tear down the statues, but we don't need to blame them. Or we don't need to blame them as well. Okay, so it's like they're saying you don't need to blame the statues? Whatever. Not sure what this quote means here. This is it, and then this is it. All in all, it's hard to make sense of the situation where ordinary past wrongdoers are deserving of our blame. Either they're genuinely and non-culpably morally ignorant, which seems to be excusing for the same reasons as factually ignoring is excusing, or they're excused on the grounds that they were bad people for reasons they couldn't help, or we lack standing to blame them. Of course, slave owners and those who supported them were engaged in morally horrendous activities. Of course, we should condemn what they did. That seems adequate grounds to tear down the statues. We don't need to blame them as well. Okay, so they're saying, look, the people just didn't know the other people were humans. It's not their fault. But this is why we have our friend Aris. Our friend Aris has found ancient sources saying you shouldn't be a fucking slave owner, that it's bad. He has argued this that he's found other stuff from hundreds of years ago. People saying it was bad from 500 years ago. Missionaries saying you should be treating the natives well. The natives are not bad people. They are actually people. You should not be killing them. So this one's saying, hey, look, they just didn't know they were people in the past. And so that's not their fault. Yeah, this article's conclusion is awful. Yeah, well, let's give it a rating. In that case, that was it. I mean, that was the whole article, very short, and it's very cutesy. Now, this is a different sort of thing. They put forward one little article, one little argument, and is this good? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But they're saying basically the people in the past just didn't know any better. And you should tear down their statues because the statues represent the slave trade. But you shouldn't be angry with the people because, frankly, they just didn't know any better. Frank says, if I can't criticize someone because I might have acted like them, then I can't criticize myself. That seems to follow and repellent. Yeah. So, well, it's like you can criticize them, but you can't blame them in some sense. Like, you know more than they did, and so you can criticize them, but your position for criticizing them is a historical one, not like a moral one. It's like we know more now, but the fact that they didn't know more wasn't their fault. So it's like, yes, we know more than they did, but that's not their fault because they were just ignorant of the stuff. And so it's like you can still criticize them, but it's like you can criticize your old self for not knowing stuff. You can still do that, but like, are you blaming your younger self for not knowing things that you couldn't have known at the time? Yeah, your reviews don't get more positive than this. Yeah, this is like, but I mean, I think Frank and the other people talking, like, you've got the idea. It's just a very analytic article. Yeah, so so we've got a few. This is getting a nog knife because that's what this is. This is just a cutesy little I'm gonna get two nog knives for me. Yeah, you can also double up. If you double up the stuff, it's like it shows up on the review, of course. You know, I don't hate this article. I find it to be a little bit silly. What's really wrong with it here, though? Let me think. I'll put my knives down and I gotta think about the valence and how I feel about this. Like, were they morally horrible because they just didn't know any better? I'm thinking, no, they're morally horrible because they could have known better and they didn't. Like I just keep saying, Aris has pointed out a number of sources, and there's something on him that, like, you know, he knows the tradition that people were saying that slavery is bad, and that's not, they don't have the, that this author, it doesn't know the history well enough to say, look, there were people saying that the history is not without, like, people saying slavery is bad. You clearly, well, yeah, see, this was a good, yeah, but see, Ivan, that's why you give it the knife. It's a good analytic stuff. That's what it could be. Should get a yay for that reason alone. Yeah, and so Adam Fighter might also have a point. Golden Turd looked good, but if you don't like the conclusion because you don't think they got the history right. Like maybe that's the way we should look at this. It's not that they did a bad article, is that this author may have been ignorant of some of the history of people decrying the slave trade over the last 2,000 years. Unreal Brian says it's a topic you should be interested in, but he kept zoning out. That happens in analytic philosophy. They put together an article, an argument, and not all arguments are going to compute for everybody. That's just how it goes. It opens up the door to rationalize current bad behavior. I don't think it does that. I think it's saying, well, in some sense it does. It says, well, maybe in the future this is the I'll let history judge me sort of person. Like, oh, you currently think I'm bad, but let history be the judge of me. So in some sense, Lumpy, I think you're right. This person's saying, look, in the future, I'll be judged better because like this is the way you guys are ignorant of how the world really is. And in the future, when they know better, I'll be looked on more favorably. But like I said, there's been people making these moral arguments a long time. And so it's just, it is a little bit like, no, we do know some stuff. Ivan says, I think we're in a different environment today. It is much more difficult to hold a radically evil view because radical views demand much more critique and research. There are more opposing views that must be ignored. That's more failing beyond ignorance. Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's very hard. You have to kind of want to focus on certain things if you want to just like treat other people shitty. It's like, well, I'm going to ignore all mitigating factors that there's tons of research on to say that like, why certain things are happening. It's like, yeah, it's like, don't do that. Like Frank says, I'll be very happy if history judges me awfully. It will mean they're much better off. I expect that. I expect all of history, like, we're going to do better in the future. Like, so I'm with you on that, Frank. Like I said, I live in a very hazy, gray world. Everything's very ambiguous. I try to do good things. And it's like, but I don't know. And so it's like, I hope it works out well. I don't have any real faith in like I don't see why I'm not a moral saint. I never expected to be. So it's like, yeah. So like, I don't think this is bad. You know what? This is going to get a begrudging yay out of me because I think this is not a terribly, I don't think this is a bad argument, but it's also going to get a turd. So it's going to get knives, a yay, and a turd because it's like, I think this person lacks the historical understanding. It was an analytic argument on like excusing a moral bad, and they didn't actually understand it. Not moving into a battle anytime soon? Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Maybe soon enough. I want to get out of this location, actually. But, yeah. So I just feel like this person did not judge the history correctly. They did an analytic argument, and they, but it's a cutesy little article, so it's going to get the yay. I think it's worth reading, but people have to understand where it went wrong. It's that even in the past, people knew better. They weren't stupid back then either. Living in a barrel would avoid clutter. Well, there. Not until a later stage of capitalism. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. All right, so if anyone else wants to get the reviews in, appreciate everyone's review. It's all going to go up on the site. We can't blame them for not knowing history, though. They just knew less than us when they wrote this. Yeah, exactly. But again, if you're going to be a scholar in philosophy, then you're supposed to have done your research. Did this person actually look into the history and be like, could they have known? And that's a question that we could, go ask Neil Levy. Could these people have known that, like, it was a morally bad thing to do? And maybe in the past it was like, well, these people, it's not up to me to decide. This is just the argument. Maybe those people from the other countries aren't human, and it's okay to do that. This is just like, I'm just like stating the argument here. This is what the argument is. It's like, this full of shit. But that's a good joke again, Frank. Lumpy says, oh, better yet, design a tiny house and theme it Diogenes barrel. Well, that's what it would be. I would have like, I'd put up a sign or something like Diogenes Club. Diogenes house yet. Tindera says, I don't think the debate should be about to tear or not to tear down a statue, but more about what to do with the statue itself. In German statues, they got removed and now in museums with context. Yeah, we're doing that too. The problem is, of course, there's real assholes here, and they're like, no, we're not doing it. That's like our history. And it's all bullshit. It's not their history. It's like some made up history that like many years later someone like made up. And so it's all bullshit usually when people are like, we want to leave it up because preserving history is more important than correcting past wrongs that are, in the past. So, but like what happens then is like people just go in at night and go bust stuff because then people here are crazy. But okay, that's it for now, I guess.